So you grew up in Barnesville, Georgia, yeah?
Close, Macon.
Okay. But you're familiar with the Barnesville Buggy Days. Can we start off with the Barnesville Buggy Days? What goes down at the Barnesville Buggy Days?
Oh man, I've been to that one time. It's like a blast in the past, man. It's wild. Like you see horses walking down the middle of the street.
Wow.
It's just it's a wild time of just like. I mean, it totally took me off guard. It was something I had never seen before. I'm just like, what the hell's happening here?
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So people are drinking. There's it's almost like, a blast from the past. There's horse and carriage drawn.
Yeah, horse and buggy drawn around. It's almost like somewhat Amish is, I guess, maybe the right term.
Are you familiar with those the medieval like festivals they have where everyone's in character? Is it kind of like that but a different time period?
Very similar to that, yeah.
Wow.
Very similar.
Yeah, I did a deep dive.
I used to work with a guy that did those medieval battles on Catalina, and he was really into that. Like he built his own armor and swords and everything. Like it's a real thing. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it was very similar to that. I mean, there was people there all out in it. Like,
yeah,
I guess that's with anything, right?
Something like that I've always wanted to do is I want to go to like a real old Western town with like the saloon doors. And it's all everywhere. You hear the buckling, the cowboys' boots as they're just going on by.
Yeah. And you get your own pistol and cowboy hat. It's kind of. Have you ever seen the show Westworld? Like where it's Westworld is basically like this big fantasy land where you can go do whatever you want in a Western setting. So people get their vests, their hats, and it's all the characters they come in contact with are robots. Like it's all it's a whole makeshift world, but it's meant to be realistic. So you can go, you can loot and pillage, you can kill people and stuff. And the robots, when they die, they just wake up the next day and live their life. But then some of the robots start to become aware that they are in this world. And so they start to rebel, dude. It's crazy. I only watched the first season, but dude, you got to check it out. Westworld.
Wait, so it's like a robots breaking through the Matrix kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, really interesting stuff. It's a good storyline, but it kind of got weak, but towards the line. But enough about that. We have more on Barnesville. I know you said you grew up in a different town. What was that called?
Macon.
And did you play baseball for Macon?
I played baseball for a long time, like 20-something years.
Wow.
I grew up playing there, and then I traveled around to a few different colleges playing as well. I feel like, at least for me, it was a childhood dream to play professional baseball. I grew up loving the Atlanta Braves, like Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones. Like that was the team, at least for me back then. And that was just like a childhood dream of mine to play professional baseball. So I chased that dream pretty much as long as I could, or what felt like, as long as I could. And then, it's that time kind of came to an end and changed trajectory for me.
Yeah, and growing up real quick, when you told people you wanted to become a professional baseball player, did you have supportive people around you or people who were like, it's only the 0.001% that make it or whatever? What was that like? Because I know what my experience was like, and I want to hear what yours is like.
I feel like I had both. I had, your support system of like the closest people to you, like, hey, go for it. And then you also, I feel like anytime you step into something that's going to be challenging, you're going to have haters or doubters and be like, yeah, right, whatever. It's like, so in that, I feel like I had both, definitely.
Yeah, I know my stepdad was like, you'll never make it. And I was like, what? He's like, straight up, he was real.
Rough, bro.
He was so real with me, dude. And it hurt, and it still hurts, you know what I mean? And I look back and I'm like, damn, maybe if he would have been like, dude, you should really go for it. Who knows? I might be there right now. But
yeah, I mean, damn, that's rough.
So basically, because I know you're so into fitness and we're going to get into all of that. I kind of wanted to start with square one. So baseball was the building block on your fitness journey. I mean, you played collegiate baseball. That's awesome. And you look like a pitcher. Were you a pitcher?
I was an outfielder.
Outfield. That was my next guess. Yeah. But so outfielder, and wow. So is outfield the best? Like the best players play outfield?
I guess it just depends on your specialty, right? Like pitchers, they kind of control the game. Pitchers and catchers, shortstop, and it's like the people in the middle of the field kind of control that the game, if you will.
Yeah.
I liked outfield because it was, I don't know, I just like if it was hit to me, I'd just run and get it, you know. And that was it was a very simple concept.
That is how that works.
I love the thrill of running down and tracking that ball down, and then when you catch it and you close the glove, it's just so
and then you hear
satisfying.
everybody scream.
Yeah.
But Ryan's like, oh, are those the best players out there? Because in middle school, the worst players out there, and Ryan wants validation. He wants validation for his outfielding.
In that case,
I was one of those people too, Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah, me too, Ryan. Don't feel bad.
Oh, that's hilarious. I didn't even think about it like that, but I did play outfield for my short tenure. That's awesome.
But the sport that Ryan was talking about going professionally in was hockey.
Yeah, right. I
cool.
played hockey.
Very
hockey.
nice. Well, I had a buddy say that like people that couldn't play hockey played baseball.
Really?
Yeah, he was
play basketball because hockey players who play basketball are notoriously bad. You got no shot. That's why I play hard defense and I got the hustle stats. But other than that, I'm not really scoring much. So as we continue,
he's a fundamentals kind of guy.
Yeah, it's hard fundamentals.
Basics.
Big Tim Duncan guy.
Randall, as we continue down your storyline to where you are now, I did a deep dive, and obviously you went from baseball into the CrossFit scene and getting into slackline. You look like you may have even dabbled with the hacky sack, haven't we all? But and then into this amazing yoga journey. But I want to take one stop real quick before we get into all that at the hashtag Time Flies challenge on your Instagram. And Randall, here we have you in what grade?
Shit.
What grade was this?
Randall,
Dude,
what's going
dude,
on?
that
Dude,
was
you look like Josh Peck.
Oh man, I'm so glad you uncovered this. This is so great.
When was this?
Dude, I'm thinking that's like
Like a movie star on the left picture, bro.
8,
That's Josh
9 years
Peck
old
in the
maybe?
left picture, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, and the transformation is
8 or
real,
9,
dude.
yeah.
The transformation
Yeah, right.
is
It's like
real.
some Aladdin vibes with a vest,
Aladdin
glasses, Yeah. So it was that was a rough time of life.
But you wouldn't be where you are today without those times,
For sure, man. I would look back and I'm thinking, Mom, what the fuck were you thinking? Dressing let me walk out of the house looking like that. But
yeah, you look like a strong lesbian.
It's a good laugh now.
Yeah. So, you go
good.
from collegiate baseball to
Yo, my shit's fucking up.
Yeah, it looks like Nick is having a little bit of a problem, but me and Randall are still going strong, so we're going to continue the interview while he figures it out. But so you go from collegiate baseball
Dude,
into
this shit is so fried.
Oh wow, that's so much better.
There we go. Into the CrossFit scene. And do you move away from home for that, or where did you kind of start doing CrossFit?
That was in Pensacola. Or actually Panama City was where like it originated. After baseball ended, I kind of moved back home. I was trying to figure out life, I guess. Because all of my like dreams were wrapped up in going professional, and that ship kind of sailed, and I was a little bit lost, kind of fell into some depression a little bit just because you have your hopes and dreams on one thing and it kind of like comes crashing down and you're like, well, what am I going to do now?
No doubt.
So I kind of returned back home, was living there for a little bit, and I had a buddy
Barely.
he asked me, he was like, you should come check out CrossFit. It'll give you like, I was looking for something to compete in, to like have that same type of drive or competition. And CrossFit just kind of fell into place. It was something that, I'd always been in kind of like to health and fitness, and it was just kind of a nice segue from baseball into that type of area.
Yeah, so you found almost that motivation, that drive, that fuel through the CrossFit, which, unfortunately, the hopes and dreams of baseball had left in you. And CrossFit was able to kind of fill that hole. That's awesome because, as we kind of mentioned before, I wanted to play hockey so bad. And when it ended, I was doing beer leagues and still that's competitive. But now I've done so much traveling, I haven't really been able to find that competitiveness in physical exertion, which that's incredible that, you found CrossFit, because recently I've kind of been getting back into the gym and whatnot. I'm like, where does this all lead? Yeah, I'm going to be jacked, tan, and juicy as fuck. But who can I, you know what I mean? Where does this go? And that's really cool, man. So And is CrossFit a individual sport, or are you working with a team?
So you can do both, honestly. You can take the individual journey. I've done like some competitions as an individual and also with a group, kind of like there'd be like 4 of us all together on a squad, right? And we'd all like split up the work. And the whole idea of CrossFit is trying to complete as much or the amount of work in the fastest amount of time.
Wow, dude, that's really like they took that straight from the Amish, dude. I mean, the Amish, instead of getting ripped, they're just building barns.
Yeah. So instead of building barns, we're just, picking up stuff, putting it down.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Building
That's cool.
Building bodies.
I'm sorry, Nick. Your connection is a little rough right now, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna keep pushing.
Yes.
And that led us to the CrossFit, and then we have you in the slackline. Where did the slackline become part of what you do?
That was, I would say, I was introduced to that in my first year of physical therapy school. I had a brother in med school, and he brought one out one day, like between classes, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
and it's like, it's just a rope. You stand on it, and I'm like, as soon as I put my foot on it, I was very humbled by the fact, because for the most part in our daily life, we stand on a solid surface. It doesn't move. It doesn't waver. Like we feel pretty steady.
Yeah.
Right. And as soon as I put my foot on that, it was just like,
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there's something here. Let's see if we can figure it out. And
yeah, I tried a slackline out in Colorado once or twice. I dabbled, but yeah, it's very difficult stuff, dude. It's extremely difficult. Nick, turn your phone to the side, but you look great. And yeah, the slackline was something that I never really perfected, but man, I saw you kind of like you were from a sitting position and you completely stood up, and then you were about to even do a backflip on there. Like that's some real circus level type stuff, man.
It's honestly one of my favorite like things I do. It's a very active meditation. It's for at least for me, and this is how I kind of interpret it. The line is it's direct feedback to my mind.
Yeah.
So the busier my mind is, if I'm thinking about all these things, if I'm worried about the future, dwelling about something, the line just sits there and moves. But if I'm completely present, if I can slow down, then the line just doesn't move at all. It doesn't waver.
Wow, that's incredible to really think about, because a lot of activities can be a meditation as long as your mind is completely involved in whatever action or what you're doing. That is basically you're practicing a meditation. Now, where does the balance come in, like into play? Is that from all your legs, core, or even you're putting your arms out? What's the most important part to get down to be able to accomplish a slackline?
Your breath.
Facts.
Wow.
Facts.
Your breath.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so
the
sick.
slower and more smooth your breathing is, the more calm the whole system stays. Because here's the thing, you stand up every day. You walk around every day. There's no difference in that on the slackline. What happens is there's a little bit of uncomfortableness. It's unfamiliar. So the nervous system gets worked up. There's a little bit of fear and anxiety. So if you turn the breath down, it turns the volume down inside, and it's just like walking normally. You just have to do it a little slower.
That's awesome. That's
no,
really,
I can 100%
really cool.
vouch for that. Like when Randall was showing to me it for the first time, we jumped on. Like if you really just focus on your breath, and like he said, whether it's walking around or even like in our yoga practices, when you align with that breath, everything else, it all just falls into place. If you really just slow down and control, it's amazing when you really put it to work.
I think that's a metaphor for a lot of things, though. You know what I mean? If you can just become present, control your breathing, no matter what the situation is, you're going to be better off having so much more control of. If you can't control anything else, at least you can control your breathing and yourself.
For sure.
Really cool stuff. So, all right, we crossed the line of CrossFit. You're now. So wait. Was your physicality, what would you say your body type was before you started doing CrossFit, and then after you started doing CrossFit?
Okay. I mean, I can kind of remember some like statistics of it. Like back when I was playing baseball, I think I was like about 185 pounds roughly.
Yeah.
I was like right at 6 foot, 185. So I was much leaner, like very lean from all the running and things like that. And then CrossFit, I mean, I went from not really lifting heavy during baseball, but then lifting very heavy during CrossFit times. And I think the heaviest I got up with CrossFit was like 205.
Wow.
On like the same frame. So it was like 20 pounds of muscle, just like I had like no neck. I mean, it was just like picking up heavy stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't move. Like I could move for CrossFit type of activities, which are very up and down, like frontal plane type of movements. But I was not good at rotating, not good at like doing other basic things. So
what would you say your body felt where, like, in whatever fitness stage of your life where your body's felt the best? Or doing what routine would you say, like, your body, like, you feel like, wow, I feel so good doing this right here? Or would you say really throughout the whole journey you felt like very good about, like, just, you know what I'm saying? Like health in general.
Honestly, I feel the best I've ever felt in my life right now.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. At 33, I can do things now that I could never do in my 20s.
That's amazing.
And I think it just comes from repetition, practice, understanding myself, my body, and knowing that, like, CrossFit is great. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. I mean, I don't personally do it anymore just because things change, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, for me, it doesn't make sense to like beat myself up every day, like literally put myself into like a state of discomfort in terms of like working the muscles to fatigue. So I do a lot of different things now. Like I'll bike a couple of days a week. I'll do yoga a couple of days a week. I love to climb. Like rock climbing or climbing is one of the greatest things we can do for ourselves.
Oh, wow.
Just because it's total body. It works literally everything. Everything has to work synergistically to keep yourself off the ground. So we don't necessarily have any place to climb around here, but I will find, Nicholas will know about this because we have that down at the annex, those little like outdoor workout equipment pieces. And I'll just like climb all over that.
Dude, we need to get.
If that's one thing I wish that we had as humans, I wish we had evolved feet that could grab things, you know, so we could just climb trees and have that whole other element to grabbing things with our feet.
Yeah, we need to get you down to Mexico, dude. Have you climb the wall, dude? That'd be awesome. Get some coverage on that. But so that's really, really interesting. Climbing is the best thing you can do.
I think back to like him saying at 33 he feels the best he has. I think that says a lot to people who say, oh, after your 20s, your body's just on a steady decline as you get older, when really that's not the case. You can continue to take great care of your body throughout your whole life and continue to improve no matter how old you get.
Yeah, and I've heard that, you know, as you age and whatnot, if you're not like taking care of your body, like at least just getting in there and working your muscles, you're deteriorating. And by the time you're, 60, 70 years old, you're so fragile and weak just because you haven't invested anything in your younger days to be able to, have the kind of mobility and strength in your body when you're older. Which I'm, you brought up pushing yourself to discomfort. And although, CrossFit, you're doing that with physical exertion and kind of, doing that, there's also a lot of ways you can push yourself mentally, to still work your mind out and make your mind do difficult things to make yourself stronger. Like I do ice cold showers all the time. Like I just took my first warm shower in probably like 2 months the other day, because it's like I just start off cold so that I don't have to go from hot and then like, oh, I miss the hot. Instead, if you just start cold, freezing, that's all you get. And you know what I mean?
Dude, right in the morning when you do that too, like you're so alert afterwards because it just strikes all of your senses and all of your just like little like, just like it feels like not a knife, or because it's not like sharp, but it kind of is sharp. But you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, wow, no, I like my whole body, even your mind is just like on like a needle, You're
present, you're focused, because all you can think about is how cold this is, And you're getting your first win of the day when you do it. I get my workout in the morning, make my bed in the morning, and take a cold shower. There's 3 wins before 9:30 in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
getting little
that's
hits
just
of adrenaline. Yeah, with that cold shower, you're actually getting little like hits of adrenaline, so it wakes you up. It just it supercharges the system. So yeah, in terms of, I'll feed off that. Cold showers are amazing. There's a ton of health benefits for that, especially putting your body in a physically discomforting situation. You respond, you adapt, and you grow. Like like you had said, you're either like growing or you're deteriorating. There's no stagnation to life. There's like homostasis is kind of a fallacy, because we're either like pushing ourselves or we're kind of falling off. So
yeah, that's so true. And much on that point, everything has a positive or a negative charge. You know what I mean? To it. Like even with the food we eat, the liquids we drink, all of that has a positive or a negative charge that goes into what you're nourishing your body with.
I want to transition really quick back to yoga because we talked about baseball and CrossFit and a couple of other of Randall's physical endeavors. And so when, you're really obviously heavily into yoga right now, you're doing it all the time, almost every day. And when was there a moment that you can remember on your yoga journey where you're like, wow, I want to shift to this. I feel like there's a lot of benefit in just this as a whole, and I want to draw my attention to that. When did you start to develop that passion and love for it?
I think it was due to like one of my partners I was with a couple years back. They introduced me, or like she was a yoga teacher, and she was like, "Why don't you come try this?" And I was like, all right. This is back in CrossFit days, so like,
yeah, you're doing.
Ego was still pretty high. Like I don't know. It just seemed very like girly, feminine. I don't know the right proper term, but I was like, what is that? You know what?
And I think years ago that may have been more of the case than it is now.
For sure. And I would definitely agree with that. But they were just like, come check it out. And I was like, okay, I'll come try it. And it was a hot yoga class. And I will never forget this shit till the day I die. Like, we were in Warrior 2, so arms are kind of like out, extended. I'm in a nice lunge, and I am fucking pouring sweat. I am just dripping. My arms are shaking. My legs are quivering. Like, I am struggling. And then this sweet little Asian lady in front of me is just blissed out, serene, completely calm, not even sweating, not even wavering. And just like, I'm looking at her and I'm like, I can do this, like trying to talk myself through it. And it doesn't look like it's even phasing her. And in that moment, I was like, okay, there's something here that I'm missing. And I feel like that maybe what you're looking for, Nicholas, is like the start of that yogic journey that continued to lead me or want me to explore more of like, okay, there's something here that I don't know what it is, but I haven't quite got it yet. And it kept me coming back.
It's so interesting. Everything you've said so far, the beauty of it is you've seen somebody else, like, the competition in baseball, and then you have, somebody else showing you the slackline and you're like, I want to be able to do it, and then you see somebody at this hot yoga class, like, I can do that too. So it's awesome how, like the competition, even although it's not like, legit competition, it's like a competition with yourself. Proving to yourself that you can be better and you can keep taking steps forward. That's really, really cool. And I think that's kind of what drives me myself also.
But I feel like we need, or at least like we need that push, that internal drive to do something, to create something. I don't know, that spark, that like grit, if you will, that like, hey, let's like get after it today or whatever it may be. Because it's probably different for all four of us, but there's that internal drive, that internal knowingness to like do something, create change, build something, like leave a legacy, or however you want to look at it, right? I feel like there is that within us. And when we see others along the path who are a little bit further, at least for me, it gives me like a spark of like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, most definitely.
And so it like continues to fuel me. And then I know that when I'm able to do something, just like I was able to share slacklining with Nicholas, it's like, hey, if I know I can do this, you can do this as well. And I love bringing others along the journey too.
That's awesome. So then you go from CrossFit, you have your first hot yoga session, and then does it completely take off from there? How does that work?
It kind of ebbed and flowed. Like I dove into yoga and like animalistic style movement, all body weight stuff. So CrossFit was like, 2013, 14 to about 17, 18, pretty heavily. Like I was in it for about 4 years. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was in it. For about 4 years or so, pretty deep. But my body was like, it was just hurting. Like I'd have lower back injuries or like my knees were bothering me. And I'm like 25, 27 years old. I shouldn't be hurting like this, even with lifting weights. And then started pursuing more, got into PT school and understanding how the body starts working and how we're creating change. And like I realized the body just needs more space. And we do a lot of that through opening up, through mobility, some stretching, and creating more space for us to operate. And so started doing more of that type of work. CrossFit had kind of ebbed its way back in a little bit because I felt like I needed some more of that drive, that grit. I think the ego kind of started to escalate a little bit. But actually that's kind of concluding this story. When I got down to Key West, I was heavy into yoga, but then I kind of picked back up into CrossFit a little bit. And actually had an injury November of 2021. I fell off a pull-up rig and I fractured my back.
Oh, wow.
From doing like toe to bars, bringing the toes up, tapping the bar.
Oh.
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. You can see me falling and like I hit my head on the wall and like it's there.
Oh, wait, no, I've seen this video actually.
Yeah.
I've seen this.
How long ago?
November of 2021, so a little over a year ago, a year and 4 months.
It was really one of those videos you could feel that shit through the phone.
Yeah.
It was like whoa.
It's on the doing the toe to bars, slip and fall, like fold up pretty rough. But yeah, that was kind of like a tipping point for me because it came to a point where I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I'm sitting here trying to like do all these things in CrossFit for what point? Like, what is the point of me doing this? It was really just to like fuel my ego, to like be cool, or I don't know. It's just
going at a different angle, like back to the you said you were hurting your body, and like what point is there to continuing that? Like it's like you grow to a certain point and then if you continue it deteriorates your body. So that's how I felt today. I ran a 5K and then there was like a 5K and then a half marathon, right? So it's like a half marathon, like I know like to some people that's nothing, but like it for myself at a certain point after like 3, 4, 5 miles, it's like why would I put my body through more of that physical discomfort? It feels like at that point, like with your joints and your legs and your muscles, you're deteriorating your body from there. Or I'm sure that each person has their own like line or wall to where that is.
So, Randall, do you mind if I play that video? Or
no, dude, go ahead.
He's like, it's a touchy subject. So here we have it on his Instagram here. He goes up for it. He readjusts his grip there. Ooh,
yikes!
Good gravy. Yeah, that's tough, man. Your thing says what 2021 felt like.
Yeah,
dude, that's so true, dude. Like 2020, like that. I could relate to that shit.
Okay, so we talked a lot about ego there, and do you think there is a healthy way to have a relationship with your ego and going about some things, or do you think no ego is the way to go? Like, what is your thought on that?
Good question. At least in my journey, my personal experience, the more we can deteriorate the ego and come from a more like true place, true stance, especially for men, right? We have a hard time like letting the mask fall down, being vulnerable, showing our true colors. Like that shit's tough because for the most of us, we weren't brought up being like, hey, it's okay to cry. You can share your emotions. Like that shit was shunned. You're like, you don't cry. Men don't cry. We're tough. Wipe away his tears, like, so for me in my personal journey, like the more I've been able to deteriorate my ego, the better life I feel like it's gotten because I just do what feels like resonates with me and I don't have to worry so much about the way other people view it or look at me.
Yeah, I definitely think.
Go ahead.
I think that's very important, to at least with yourself have that relationship of like if that's what helps you to deteriorate the ego and not care what other people view you as when you do have to show emotion. I think that's incredible, and I think that's the right way too. You know what I mean? Like men should be able to show emotion and feel those emotions, but like it almost seems like now in 2023 that it's like people are like men are having these emotions, like the younger generation, and they're more dwelling on them and letting them that define them more than ever, instead of being like, okay, I'm sad and this is a part of life. Now I have to keep moving forward. I feel like there's not a lot of moving forward with the younger generation sometimes.
Well,
Instead,
the thing is, I feel like people think, okay, I'm sad, this is bad. Like, I shouldn't feel this. And then they resist, when in reality, positive, negative is a whole relative spectrum anyway. So, like, who's to say that one end's bad and one thing is good when really it just is this thing? So when you have this feeling of anxiety, depression, like, yeah, you should work to, feel better in a sense, if that's, what you want. But, like, it's God, I've lost my train of thought there. You just need to let it be and sit with that feeling and meditate on that feeling and then keep going inward. That's the whole point of meditation and breath work. You know what I mean?
That's incredible. Yeah.
It brings
like
these things out,
For sure.
And then there's a part of, like, the last part of what I was saying is just the ego pushes me over that line. It's like, okay, like, I'm going to set aside time to feel these certain feelings in this type of way. But at some point we got to get back on the horse and we got to keep riding. You know what I mean? And my ego is the one who kind of like pushes me to say, okay, like you've set aside the time, you've had it. And now, let's move forward. So
if I may, I feel like ego, based on what we're saying, is a path to true enlightenment. The path of detaching from the ego is a path to enlightenment, because the biggest illusion, or one of the biggest illusions in life, is that we are all separate, right? And the ego likes to claim that it is a separate entity. Oh, this is me. This is mine. Oh, I am better. When in reality, if you detach from that ego and you let go of your separateness, it makes you more connected to others in your earth, like the whole surrounding energy around you,
For sure. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so that was I really like that too. That bit on ego, because it's really true. Like I don't think some people are even aware sometimes that there is another kind of background to what may be driving them to make some decisions or things they're doing.
I do think there's another side to it too, where it's like you could use ego. I mean, if it's there, some people may say devil's advocate, you're supposed to do something with it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's to detach and to let go, but maybe in some cases it's good for an edge. It gives you an edge in a certain way, or it gives you a chip on your shoulder, to succeed. But then there gets to that point where it's like, am I deteriorating? Is it just the ego? Is it really in benefit of myself?
Just like the competition that drove Randall to want to do CrossFit after baseball, or even see that small woman being able to do better at hot yoga than him, that even got him into that headspace of, oh, I'm going to do this,
So another thought I had, he was talking about like bodily ailments and like hurting body and just not being able to be loose. And I'm sure obviously yoga's opened that up to be loose and, flexible and stuff. But do you get massages, and how often do you get massages, and how would you recommend like that someone get a massage at a certain period of time? Should I be getting a massage once a month? Is that good?
So I guess to answer that question, when was my last massage? My last massage was probably like 2-3 months ago, maybe. Okay. But I just get them when I feel like I need it. Some people want them once a week, some once a month. Like, I can't make that decision for you, but it's all about like personal preference, right? Like, if you find a nice masseuse, like some people just go and want to be like touched. They just want to feel like loved on, and it's a break for some people, like a chance to turn off their brain. It's almost like yoga for some people. They just can go and relax, turn off their brain, have everything just kind of melts away, and then all of a sudden they're done. They're like, oh, that was great, And that happens for some people in yoga. That happens for some people slacklining. That happens for sometimes artists when they're creating something, right? It takes them out of their current habitual state, if you will. But the beautiful thing about massage is, it is a great way to release said tension. So is yoga. But yeah, I mean, I feel like massage, at least for me, is personal preference and choice. Like, it can help work out some things. But the way to really change tissue functionality and things like that is through movement. Like, you have to like restructure tissue to cater to whatever you're going to do and throw at it.
Okay.
When you're going into a massage, do you prefer a female masseuse or a male masseuse?
I guess it just depends. I've had both. At least from my experience, male can give more pressure. Now I have had some women who I thought were trying to kill me. Just like, yeah, just like almost made me jump off the table.
Yeah.
But I like the feminine energy of it, at least for me. Like I bring in the masculine. I want feminine to kind of dance with that in that term.
Yeah.
So that's my preference of that.
Yeah, I've only had one massage in my life other than non-professional, but it was from a guy, and it wasn't bad, but also I feel like there was a sense of, for it being my first time, first time doing anything, it can be like, you have to just go, it's a new experience. So I feel like there was a level of me. Yeah, there was a little a level of me that couldn't completely let go and relax, which I don't know if that would be the case with a female masseuse. You know what I mean? I might just be able to fucking like completely.
Joe, have you had a massage?
I have not.
Man, you need one.
Yeah, we need to change that.
You guys like
They're
lock
pretty
me up in a
nice,
room. I'm in a straitjacket, and you guys are in all white. Just like, come here, come here.
No, we
Like,
lock
get me out of here.
We strap him in a straitjacket and put quarters in a sock and just start beating him with it. Yeah, there's your massage. But okay, so you get into your yoga journey, and and now you're really making some strides. You've become a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
At that point, you start teaching classes, and how long have you been teaching yoga classes?
I'd say about a year now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I started teaching it's a different version of yoga. It's like a class I created called Movement and Mobility. It incorporates a little bit of movement, some breath work, some meditation.
Oh, wow.
And then some soft tissue massage work. So we utilize softballs, focus on our breath, and allow gravity to help us like melt into or on these softballs, especially in areas that can be tight and a little bit cumbersome, like the area here in your upper traps, the back of the shoulders, the hips, the lower back. So just teach people some very especially meditation, right? Introductory to elementary. We do about 6 minutes where you just focus on your breath. Kind of guide them through that. Walk them through a few different versions of breath work. Have you heard of Wim Hof?
I have
participated in some of that technique.
Yeah.
So I introduced people to like a version of that, like the preliminary to Wim Hof, or where Wim Hof got his technique, is a version called Tumo breathing, which is like where Tibetan monks, this is like how they used to like regulate and do all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
So I teach them a version of like that type of breathing where it's, whole body's vibrating. You're just like,
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel like you're levitating.
Yeah, for
Crazy.
sure. You like
It's
charged
so
up, right?
Yeah.
So I love introducing people, just like letting them know that there's so much more than what may meet the eye. The gym that Nicholas and I teach at, it seems to be more in the egoic realm, if you will. I think Nicholas could probably back me up on that. It's not like a traditional yoga studio.
It's very non-traditional. It's very modernized.
Yeah, very modernized. So the spiritual aspect, or like a deeper layer, I love to kind of bring to the forefront, at least like crack the door open for anybody who may be willing to step into that realm. I'm like, whoa, that was wild. I've never experienced anything like that. Let's take that journey.
And he opens that realm. That realm.
Dude, so that's a real mixing pot of kind of yoga. I mean, with the, you're like the America of yoga, just got all these different techniques coming in and be able to kind of do it like that. I think that's super cool. And, I've done yoga a couple times, and each and every time, my girlfriend has taken me to a yoga class, I come out of it lighter. I can breathe easier. And it's just such a great experience every single time. And, but I can't say I've really tried anything like what you're saying. I think that's awesome.
And
it's very different. Go ahead.
If I may, I wanted to jump into a couple of your really amazing journeys you went on this past year. You went to Costa Rica to teach, or to learn how to teach, right? For your certification. And then you just got back from Bali, Indonesia, right?
Yeah.
And then something else I want to talk about is your 10-day silent journey as well.
Oh yeah, Vipassana.
Yeah, and like what that
one
felt
was
like.
intense.
Yeah, so let's start at you've been teaching yoga for a year, and how do you get the opportunity to travel to these places and kind of spread the word?
All right, so this past year has been pretty wild, right? Like 2022, even into this year already, it's been like, because I feel like, at least for me, when you step onto the path of, at least let's say, whatever your heart calls, right? When your heart is calling to you and you step onto that path, it's like, and you're committed to it, it's like being shot out of a fucking cannon. Like, things just start lining up, people show up, opportunities present themselves. And if you're willing, it will take you to places you have never imagined.
Right.
So like, to recap this whole year, in June of 2022, I actually went and did my yoga teacher training in Costa Rica. I had been teaching that version of class since November, almost since I broke my back in 2021, but actually getting my yoga teacher training in June of 2022. After that yoga teacher training, like I also have a doctorate in physical therapy. And while I was at that teacher training, the teachers there saw how I was like interacting with people and, helping some individuals. And they asked me to come back in September and teach at the next one. So took one in June, was back in Costa Rica in September, taught at one. And during that teacher training, I connected with, he's now pretty much a brother of mine. His name's Andrew Sheely, or Seeley. And through that connection, through that beautiful relationship, he asked me in early December to come out to Bali and film a 200-hour yoga teacher training via this app that's being created. It's called Certified. So you can download the app, hop on there, take your online 200-hour teacher training via this app.
Wow.
And I'm on there teaching.
And you're the instructor.
If that doesn't scream, this is my
them.
calling, or this is where like, the path that my heart is leading me. Oh, I'm going to go take this yoga training in Costa Rica. Oh, we really like you. Why don't you come and help us teach this? Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Incredible. Yeah, that is really cool.
So that happened. And then actually, this is hilarious. Just yesterday, through that teacher training or the online one in Bali, one of the other teachers, she lived in Bali. Her and I hit it off. She was just like a beautiful soul. She ends up telling her other yoga teacher friend about me who lives in Bali. And just yesterday, I had and it looks like I'll be actually back in Bali this year in May, teaching at another yoga teacher training there. So
nice,
just,
dude. You're a real journeyman,
it's just wild how it just like,
that's
so
incredible.
That literally just happened last night at 8:00.
So I mean, Randall really is the truth, though. Like, there is no accident that he's getting these opportunities. Like, he's a huge inspiration as why I want to teach yoga. You know what I mean? And him connecting that whole spiritual element to the practice is what I really live for and what I wanted to teach to my fellow yogis. So it's no surprise that these people have seen this in him to be able to do these amazing things.
Yeah, and so you're in Bali and you're teaching anatomy, was it? What are you teaching? Like, and where's the background of that knowledge come from?
So I was asked to come teach the anatomy and physiology of yoga, the body. Backtracking a couple years after baseball ended, trying to figure out life, what was right. I actually got into teaching CrossFit. Like I dove into that pool head first, and at that time, I loved it, man. It was such a cool community, helping people make change. And it was helping change my life. So I started teaching. I really enjoyed being in front of people and instructing. And one thing led to another, and it led me down this path of pursuing becoming a physical therapist.
Yeah.
Like helping other individuals recover from injury, because I've had a couple myself. I've had Tommy John surgery, or this UCL replaced in my elbow. I've had my shoulder redone. So
you're not a real baseball player until you get that Tommy John, boy.
Right? So I've been on both sides of the coin, right? I've been on the table as well as being the one helping those that are on the table.
That's awesome.
It's kind of been this like this natural unfolding of things that have kind of built up to this point here and now. I guess that's where, to answer your question, the physical therapy background has helped really escalate yoga, because I can see I see the body in terms of like Western medicine, at least it's very compartmentalized Western medicine, but then also really trying to bring in more of the Eastern viewpoint of it as well, and blending the two to understand the body in a more wholesome way.
Yeah, dude, that's, I mean, because it goes hand in hand, mind, body, and spirit with all the things you're doing, which is so
honestly, personally, like back to the Western Eastern civilization thing, when it comes to philosophy and medicine and everything, like, yeah, I'm sure the Western, they got their, positives, but it seems like the Eastern civilizations really got it together. Like they really know what's up. Buddhism, Taoism, like all of it.
It's so wild when you like look back at that and you look at like the nadis and all these different type of things that like these Easterners believe. They knew breath. They knew all of these things. They knew what was happening within the body without even like having this westernized view of it where it's very compartmentalized. And, we have like specialists nowadays. You go, if you have like, you got your cardiologist, you have your pulmonologist, you have your endocrinologist, you have like all these different specialties. But in Eastern medicine, it's more like wholesome, where they look at like you as a whole person and trying to, affect how the system is operating as a whole, not just like a single part.
Right. So, yeah. While we're on the topic of this, Eastern, having it down, I follow this Instagram account, Master of Martial Arts, and it's not even professionals. These are just people who are total beasts. Like, look at this. This guy, like, first off, you can see he's got calluses on his knuckles, and he's gonna punch through 3 bricks here. Look, the 1-inch punch, and there's a walnut in between his finger. Like, you see this? Watch this. There's a walnut, and he's lining it up, and it's gone. I mean, come on.
Dude, that's insane, honestly.
Dude.
I'm so impressed. That
seriously. And he even got he was so fast, he got the walnut in it too. And there's all kinds of stuff on here. This Master of Martial Arts stuff I love to watch. I want to get one more of them breaking stuff with their hands because it's insane. Like, look at this. This guy, calluses on the knuckles, 2 bricks. He's an inch away. He's not building up to this.
Fingertip away.
And it's gone right in half. Now, Joe,
you think you could beat his ass?
You call me when you can do that.
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Yeah, Joe tried to do that the other day.
Yeah, that's why I have this.
Some really cool
I tried
stuff.
karate.
Yeah,
why
don't
you touch on that story, Joe? What happened to your hand there?
No, wait. I don't want to get into that yet. I want to continue focusing on Randall here because we were talking about Eastern and Western medicines and mindsets and all that kind of stuff. And I want to get into what is the routine? This is kind of off that, but what is the routine you kind of wake up with? I know we talked earlier in the pod about, getting those small wins early in the morning. What are some of the small wins you make sure to check off your box each and every day?
My number one, meditation. 30 minutes for me in the morning is a game changer. Like, as soon as I wake up, I've got like a little water glider pillow. I've got these, they're called Mindfold. It's these like blackout masks that you can blink in. I put that on with some like Tibetan bowls, chimes, just like meditation music. Boom, 30 minutes.
And what time is that? What time in the morning?
It varies. Sometimes like 6:30, 7 o'clock, 30 minutes every morning.
Nice.
And I notice it like if I wake up late or if I'm in a rush and I don't get to it, day is drastically different.
Yeah.
Like if I make a point to do it, even if I get 20 minutes to me is better than nothing, but strive for 30 minutes every morning. And that is literally a game changer in the way I operate, the way I go about life, like, because it's given me a chance to fill up my cup before I try and go and give to others.
So what does that meditation process look like for you, or what's going on in your body? Or, I mean, obviously I'm sure it's different every single time, but run us through that.
We can use this and transition into that Vipassana talk too. So this will kind of segue perfectly. At least for me, meditation is a time and a place where I can actually just like watch my thoughts. We have been so conditioned and programmed to think our way through everything. It's like, the brain's constantly running this. worrying about this, dwelling on this. And so when I like sit into meditation, my first 5 or 10 minutes is just kind of like letting that chit chat bullshit just kind of fester out. It's going to eventually tire out. It's going to eventually fizzle and fade. And you're like, oh yeah, that's a dumb thought. Oh yeah, there's that one comes again. And you know, it comes and goes. But the way I kind of like navigate those waters is I start and just simply focus on the tip of my nose. I tell people this in a lot of my meditation practices is just simply focusing on the tip of your nose, your upper lip, and just simply noticing that breath. Because there's a slight coolness as you inhale and a little bit of warmth as it leaves the body on the exhale. And the more in tune, the more single-pointed focus we become, the less volume or less noise goes on in the brain. You know, yeah, that's how it starts, right? That's how it'll start with me. I'll start noticing my breath, and then all of a sudden, some cases I'll get like tingling, start at my fingertips and start working themselves up through my arms. I'll get some tingling sensation in the top of my head, through my third eye. Like I'll feel sometimes some tightness or constriction in my throat. I'll be able to relax it. I'll feel tightness in my chest and I'll open up, and you can almost like feel this like movement or this rush of energy kind of like moving throughout the body.
Almost as you're opening up the chakras, you know.
Exactly.
It gets caught in the throat, then you have to open up the throat. It gets caught in the chest, you have to open up the chest. It's really cool. That's
very
awesome.
much so. And I'll use this as like a transition into Vipassana, because if you're not sure what Vipassana is, it's a 10-day silent retreat where you're meditating 8 to 10 hours a day, right? Wow. It is intense. It's as equally as beautiful as it is intense. But long story short, I remember, I think it was like the 5th or 6th day, I was like, my brain would just not stop. Like it was just running, and because there's no distractions. Like your 4 activities are eat, sleep, walk, and meditate. There's no reading, there's no writing, there's no cell phone. You can't talk to anybody. You can't even look at other people. It's just like you in yourself, you know? So it was a very intense experience because we get so caught up in distracting ourselves with our phones, TV, reading, writing, you name it, right? There's so many things that pull us away from ourselves. And that experience, it was just like me and myself. There's nowhere to run, right? Yeah. And so the 5th day, you know, I wake up in the morning, my brain is just like chirping, just like all this negativity, all this bullshit, all this fear. And I'm just like trying everything I can to stop it. I'm trying meditating in the morning. We do like 2 group meditations and it's still just blasting off. Trying walking, literally there was no stopping the brain. Mm-hmm. And it was like one of the final meditations that we did as a group that day. And I'm sitting in this meditative position. I just have like tears just like pouring out of my face and down my cheeks. And I'm just like, thought I was losing my mind. Like it took me to the breaking point. And I literally just was like, I fucking give up. Like I just surrendered. I just like had to like let go of everything. And then all of a sudden I have never been so high in my life. Like I've experienced different substances, all these different things, you know, and I feel like that's a whole different conversation of later time, but those can be a great way to like access some of the spirituality type things, like kind of a bridge for some people. But in that moment, I have never been so high. Like it was like being shot out of a cannon to a place and an experience that I have never felt. Like just radiating pure gold, pure love. Like, and I'll share this. I remember like, it was almost like a camera. Like imagine I'm sitting here and then in front of me are my mom and my dad. There's a camera like behind me and it kind of pans up and I'm sitting at a dinner table with them and I see them. And they're like, you know, we're having this conversation. I'm just pouring out love. And then all of a sudden the camera like pans down behind me and comes back up. And I see my mom and dad as their child, like broken inner child that they haven't healed. And I'm sitting there looking at him and like, holy shit, this is why you are the way you are. And this is why you are the way you are. And all these things that you hadn't quite healed got passed on to me.
Wow.
And it just brought so much like love and compassion because I was able to see them in a completely different light.
Yeah.
It's amazing how deep
and like you really get though, it feels like during that process you're just like inside peeling layer after layer after layer off, and then I'm sure there are more deeper layers to that, you know, sitting with your parents' image, but it's just like you got to that certain point of your heart, I feel like, that just it just a crystal just exploded or something. Yeah, that's,
I mean, it was literally
insane.
like, it felt like this just ball of energy just went like, just like shot out through into the
just like the cosmic
universe.
Yeah, it was just like becoming one with it. You know, I mean, I haven't quite gotten back to that state through meditation since that experience, but every time I come back to it, it's like a little dose of like, oh yeah, duh, this is why I'm here, because like I'll vibrate a little bit higher. I feel more calm, more at ease within my body. And to me, that's what meditation is. It's just a chance for me to like kind of like throw everything up in the air, take a look at it, see what serves me, let that settle, and then all the rest of it just kind of fizzles out.
Yeah.
There's something that Ram Dass, I think, would say. He would just say this right here. And it's just, that's another thing about meditation. It's just like all that matters is you get to sit there right now. It's not about what you're going to do after the meditation. It's not about what happened before. It's just, this is my time to just be okay with this. And that's it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that I think that's a beautiful way of putting it, because even in meditation, it's so funny to like, because literally nothing is happening. You are just sitting on a pillow, but your brain wants to create a whole different story or situation or like relive something, but none of that's actually happening, you know? So once you begin to recognize those things and you can disassociate, like, oh, well, if I have the ability to control what I think about, why do I want to dwell on something that doesn't serve me, you know, or doesn't do me any good? So once you begin to recognize those, like, more toxic is a common word that's thrown around right now, but more like destructive thoughts, you have the ability to either play with it or not.
And I think another way to combat those negative thoughts, and I was telling Joe about this the other day, is self-talk, like literally talking to yourself in a sense where it's like you have that thought and then you say out loud what it really is. And then not only is that taking you away from the thought, it's bringing you to the moment if you're having a conversation with yourself. So it's like, oh, okay, my brain's telling me this, but I know what it is. Like, and I can say that out loud. And then it's like almost like the you know, voices disappear for a little bit.
Yeah, I think everything around us is programming, and you have the choice to be the programmer or be programmed. So through self-talks, through, you know, your inner dialogue and telling yourself that you are smart, handsome, and sharp as a tack every single day, before you know it, your subconscious believes that you are smart, strong, handsome, and sharp as a tack, you know, and you start to walk around like that. And I think that's super important, to have an inner dialogue that is only telling you positive things and pushing you forward in a positive light. I would like to step back just a moment to the routine that we kind of got off the basis with. And now you're living in Key West, correct?
Yeah.
And I lived in Key West with these two before I moved, and I know the atmosphere and the culture is much of drinking, partying, getting out, and staying out to the wee hours of the night. And do you stay away from those patterns? Do you not really partake in those activities?
When I first got down here, that's all I thought there was, you know, like that was what I hopped into. And that kind of like, I hopped on that, let's call it a train for a little bit. I hopped on the conch train and, you know, took a quick tour around Key West.
Literal conch train.
So I did a little bit of that, but then I just like, I got to like diving more into spirituality, yoga, and I just began to ask myself, like, does this really serve me? Like, what is this doing for me? Because like alcohol is like a toxin, right? It's not great for our body.
Yeah.
So I just like got to a point one day, I'm like, why am I doing this? And I just like kind of stopped, just like disassociated myself from that realm. Now I'll go bike down there because there's, you know, people everywhere. I'll go check out the crowds.
And for sure. I know in my personal experience, like recently I've stopped drinking
I don't really partake in that so much anymore.
Yeah, and when we're talking about the routine, is like that is so disheveling to your routine. I mean, I'm waking up and I'm getting my small wins early. And you mentioned how when you wake up and continue, meditating every day, you have a completely different day than the days you don't. And for me, like I haven't been drinking. I've been instead waking up and taking down these goals and things I like to do every day. And I've been living a completely different life than when I would, do my routine for 2 days, drink and have to recover for 3, and then do it for 2 days. There was just no way I could gain or build any momentum, which now I'm super glad I've kind of gotten out of that. And now seeing it from the outside, I'm seeing, and this is like, hey, anybody out there who is drinking and doing those things, do your thing. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just talking about my own perspective that, now I'm on, apps and I'm seeing people glorifying drinking and like going out and doing all this and all that. And then the next day on their story or whatever social media post it is, they're like, I'm dead. You just gave away your whole day. Now you're
no, dude. And it's like
nothing.
People that do that, it's like, you can almost see it coming. It's like, oh, I'm out drinking. And they're like, oh, I feel like shit. It's like, well, you kind of fucking asked for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
really.
This isn't
really,
something
like,
new.
what good things really come out of drinking? Like, yeah, like there's the whole like, oh, heart rate thing if you have like a glass of red wine or something like that. But really, like, you're going out to a bar, yeah, you're socializing, having fun, but you can do that without alcohol outside of a bar somewhere else. And you're just wasting money when you could be using that money to invest in yourself or other areas to grow from. It's just pointless. It's like, now you could say that about other substances as well. Personally, from my experience, like psychedelics and marijuana, like I find uses for that spiritually and, for health benefits as well. But it's like, you don't hear people say, oh, I drank a beer and then I went and meditated for 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But people might smoke a joint or something like that and meditate or whatever, but just alcohol, it just doesn't serve me.
That's the thing. None of those other substances are glorified to the extent that alcohol is in our culture. You drink on holidays, family get-togethers, work parties. You drink for every single sports event you watch. Everything
revolves around it. It revolves around
everything's become a reason to drink. And I think really that's because it is not wrong to say that people who drink are weaker, not only physically, but mentally. And in turn, they are easier to control if we're just talking about that kind of thing. But and I really think that's why the culture is so prevalent right now, is because, people are just destroying their mentalities and their physicalities, and they're not looking or asking any questions. You know what I mean? It's really
dude. And that's exactly what it is. Is like people need to be asking questions. And like, oh, why are these things implemented in our life to make us feel like shit all the time? And like, why are advertisements glorifying, like you said, this alcohol? It's because they want to control us. It's like they serve us alcohol and the media puts the stuff in our life, just like they put dope on the streets and people are slinging that shit and addicted to that shit because they don't help the issue. They put that stuff out there, Yeah.
It's really interesting as being like alcohol. It's kind of at least when I stopped, and y'all probably noticed this too, if that's on your journey, that people ask you if you're okay when you don't drink.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah. Like, all right. Yeah, that's so
It feels
true.
like there's a direct insecurity of what they are like internally saying to themselves. It's like, oh, this person's not drinking. I'm not okay. Wait, let me flip that around. Are you not okay?
It's the strangest thing.
Since I've stopped drinking, my anxiety level has gone down tremendously. And always I thought, oh, alcohol is helping me move through this anxiety. But no, alcohol was causing me anxiety. And when it comes to my relationship with marijuana, I completely shut out marijuana because I thought that was the problem. I was like, marijuana makes me anxious. I hate it. It puts me in this weird headspace. But no, the entire time I was like, oh, if I'm going to smoke, I have to be drunk. When in turn, that was just, every time I smoked, I was having anxiety because I was always drinking with it. And now I do it on my terms. I still have a very tight, regulation when I do smoke, but it's on my terms. It's more of a personal experience, and I don't have any anxiety. Now I'm having introspective thoughts, and now I'm like really looking at my life in some places, like what can I do to, have a better outcome than what I've been previously doing. It's really, really this profound thing that's happened so recently in my life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
speaking to that, the relationship with marijuana can be an interesting one, especially when you combine it with other substances. So I'm happy that you've kind of navigated those waters and kind of utilize it whenever it feels right to you, as opposed to like constantly using it as a crutch
Exactly.
to overcome said anxiety, depression, whatever it may be. Because it
Most
can
definitely.
be a beautiful plant, just like psychedelics. I've dabbled into those as well, and like I think they're fantastic. Now, personally, I feel like you have to respect them, like mushrooms, LSD, all those types of psychedelics. There's got to be a level of respect that is there, and you kind of have to like prepare yourself for whatever is going to come about, and know that whatever it is very temporary. It's not, it's happening for a reason, but it's a very short-lived reality. It can open up other doors, but it's like it's way to put this. Yeah, it can be a beautiful thing if gone.
I think psychedelics just open up that awe back to life in a sense. Like when I feel like like when you take the psychedelics, you go through these little mini journeys that help you grow, right? But in reality, you could go through those mini journeys every single waking day and moment. It's just the psychedelics that remove that filter.
Veil, yeah.
And I have two more things I'd like to get to with you, Randall, before we let you go. First and foremost, what are your thoughts on clothes and the energy they bring about? Do you feel like wearing certain outfits or clothes have a direct impact on your confidence, on your energy, or do you not really care and just kind of go with the flow? Do you think clothes are an important, not important, but do you think they play a role in your energy?
To answer this in a very concise way, I would say it's both yes and no. Because if you believe something is going to elevate your energy, I feel like it's going to.
Yeah.
Just as if you're like, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. For me personally, I try to tend to wear things that are more made consciously. At least that's what I'm transitioning into, as opposed to fast fashion. Oh, this is the cool new trend. I just I wear things for one that are comfortable.
Yeah.
That can move because I like to move. And then my partner Sydney, she's kind of opened me up to more just being more aware of what processes go into actually making clothes and the dyes, and how harmful some of the dyes and smells and all these toxins that get laced in our clothes can actually be for us. So in terms of energetically, I think, yes, it can have a grave effect on you, especially if it's made with some kind of harsh chemical.
Yeah.
So I guess yes and no.
Interesting. There's different ways to look at it, like how it's made, and then actually what your purpose for wearing that certain piece of clothing is, which is really interesting because, we're talking about clothes right now, but literally every single thing around you in your reality is like that. The wood that is made with the wood that I'm at, my desk is made out of right now, was treated with some type of chemical. You know what I mean? Whether or not it's soaking into the pores through my hands, I don't know, but it could be.
Well, and the thing is, it's everything gives off a vibration, right? And so the vibration of this chair I'm sitting in is probably may not be giving that much of an effect, but a decent effect off of my vibration as well.
Very interesting.
I was gonna I know Ryan, you've got
no, you're good.
a couple one or two other things for Randall, but I wanted to touch on this thing called I think the scientific term for it, the proper term for it, is the nirvana concept, or the human nature for us to be perfect, or perfectionism in a sense. And I feel like I internally have been battling this a lot, especially with new endeavors that I want to go into for my own personal growth and things that my own heart are telling me to do. But it's sometimes I start something and then I want to be perfect. Oh, I have to do this the right way, but really there is no right way. I just, how do you, as you've been navigating your fitness life, dealt with that perfectionism aspect, if you have, and then how have you navigated and said, okay, no, it's okay to fail. This is a part of the journey. I can fail here and learn from it and grow and be better the next day from it.
Funny you bring this up. This was something that I have battled for a while. And January of last year, or actually December of last year, I was contemplating like going out and doing physical therapy practice. I'd been working for a hospital, doing travel physical therapy, traveling all over the country, working for somebody else, right? And December of last year, or 2022, December of 2021, I just got tired of doing that. And I was like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do my own thing, you know? And it got to the point where like I had one foot on the shore and one foot on the boat, right? And it was like being pulled between these two things. Now I didn't have everything on board my ship that was needed. I didn't have all the I's crossed or I's dotted and T's crossed. Yeah. But it just came to a point where I had to just be like, fuck it. I'm on the boat and we're going to figure out this path as we go. Right. So the idea of having everything loaded on that ship, I had to be okay with not having it and just acquiring as I go. Right. Because if you just consider or constantly wait around till everything is perfect, everything is lined up just as it needs to be, that opportunity may not be there when that perfection arises, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think choosing one or the other is a much better place than having, you know, your one foot in one place and the other and being slowly pulled in both directions. You know, at one time or another, you have to just make a choice, which is so difficult in life because a lot of life kind of goes by. You make a lot of small decisions every single day. You know what I mean? Like what you're going to eat, what you wear, things like that every single day. And then there come times in our lives where you're faced with a pivotal time where you have to choose where your path is going to go, you know, left or right, straight, you know, upside down, flip it, kick it, whip it, whatever it may be. But you are forced to make, you know, play a card. And it's really, really, it's sometimes very stressful. You know what I mean? If you don't feel like your moral compass is pointing in the right direction and all those things. And, you know, that's why I'm grateful for Nick and Joe and the people around me and, you know, my family, my loved ones, all of these people that, you know I can get my thoughts out and really hear, not that I need approval from anybody else before I make a decision, but to be able to just get some of the thoughts out of my head sometimes, you know.
There's a soundboard, you know. I feel like that's what our loved ones are kind of there for, is a soundboard, just to like let me express everything. And then oftentimes as you're expressing it, you're like, oh, there it was. That was the truth that came out. I just needed to hear myself say it.
Yes, Randall. What were you saying, Nick?
I was going to say that a thing that I've been trying to do mentally and in my everyday to combat that perfectionism, especially in like just little skills I want to develop, like try it, like the graphic design or like dabbling on FL Studios, is like, I'm just here to play around with it. I'm not here to make a career out of it. I'm not here to be professional. I do this because it's what I love and I want to learn how to do this. And it's like, I just have to get 1% better every day. 1%. And it's like, if you can do 1%, one video, one tutorial every day, just 10, 15 minutes, maybe even an hour, it'll build up over time. You'll start to grow knowledge. And then 1% every day for a year, that's 365% better than you were when you started. Imagine 2 years down the road, 3. And it's like one of those things where it's like, you got to make the commitment to yourself and tell yourself, it might be 10 years. It might be 20 years. But I know that if I do this every single day, just one little thing, it's not going to be perfect. You know, those positive affirmations we tell ourselves, I think from a different perspective, it's sometimes to tell ourselves negative affirmations in a sense where it's like, I am not good at this. Can fail at this, but that's okay. And it's like good to accept the fact that we're going to be failing at some things in life because we're not going to succeed at everything we do. And yeah, that's just kind of helped me in a sense with that, is just, I'm just here to play 1%, one little thing, you know, and not taking it so damn seriously.
There's an interesting, I think it's Tony Robbins. I listen to him a lot, and he's kind of helped navigate and change my life in a lot of ways. It was either his teachings or somebody along those lines were like, the only reason or the only way we fail is if we give up. If you fall short, you learn, and you come back at it from a different angle, you know? So like failing is this grand thing that we escalate in our mind, but all that's really happening is you learning. It may have not been the exact way to do it, but you learn a better way or a more efficient way or a way that works for you and how to go about it.
and
And we
also
get
a way that
lost
doesn't
in,
work.
I think, like the professionals of what we want to do. So like, it's like, okay, yeah, if I like want to like dabble around with FL Studios, I look at my favorite dubstep artist, Sullivan King, and I'm like, wow, look how successful he is. But what I don't see is for the years and years upon years that man struggled and fought and grinded every single second and day to get to where he is. It didn't just happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't a giant leap, you know, and that's what we don't see from people, which I think, you know, aids that anxiety, depression that is increasing in our lives, because we have the social media, we have the phones, we see these stars in their best peak performance, which, you know, helps us lose motivation in a sense.
It's that instant gratification that a lot of us are chasing. And like, I want to like make a video and it go viral and boom and be famous, as opposed to like the consistency, right? Showing up daily.
Right.
There's an author, I forget his name right offhand, but he wrote this book, or it's a concept really. It's called The Compound Effect. And it relates to the idea of like a penny doubled every day in 30 days builds to like $10 million, you know? So it's like the idea of whatever I do today builds on tomorrow. Whatever I do tomorrow builds on the next day. So like back to Ryan, your drinking thing, you've stopped drinking and all of a sudden you're seeing all these positive things continue to build. And it's no wonder, because you're doing them daily and it's getting easier. You're building more momentum. And then all of a sudden it gets to the point where you tip like one domino and then all of a sudden it's just like this door you never expected opens up and you're in this whole new realm with all these new people and you're living a very different life.
100%. And I'm feeling it already. You know, I it's been absolutely amazing. So Randall, you are going to be teaching a sunset yoga class tonight on the beach. And what kind of preparation goes into, you know, something like that?
Actually, not much really. I just
nice.
Yeah. What's funny is like I would find myself really stressing kind of earlier as I was teaching yoga, because I felt like I had to have a routine, like all these things played out, and like what am I going to do? And I've actually challenged myself over the last like kind of month to not have a routine.
Wow.
Just to like go in and feel and then just create in the moment. So there's
very
something
genuine.
Yeah, something very spontaneous and natural that kind of occurs. So I don't really have anything planned. I don't have a flow. I don't have like
That's awesome.
anything laid out right now.
Instead of it being like uber scripted, you're kind of just playing off of all of the energy and what you're feeling in that moment to build about this incredible experience for the people.
Yeah, that has been a challenge of late.
That's awesome.
That's what it's been a challenge that I've kind of liked taking on as of late. Because I teach quite a few classes around the city. But yeah, that's kind of how it's been of late. It's just like, how are we feeling today? We want something intense or something more laid back? And if people are like intense, I'm like, all right, let's go. And if it's laid back, I'll do a slow flow. So.
And it is such an amazing skill for him to be able to do that, because, you know, as I start my yoga teaching practice, like to take Randall's classes and to know how it is as a teacher starting now and like trying to like, oh, I need to do this, you know, that way or this, when really, you know, for him to just do that and like the hard moves, like I'll be going through the flow and I'm like, what the fuck? How did he think to do? And just to know as he's going through it, like he's making this up on the fly, some of this, you know,
it's like, right.
And how each move builds upon, you know, each move. I think it's a testament to really your presence and your, you know, the more present I believe we are, the more synchronized we are into the universe. So it's like if you're improving your yoga classes, it's like almost that the universe is like, you can feel that intuition inside you, like this is what you gotta do. Oh, you know, it's like you're connected to source.
For sure, it's like a channel. It's just like a lot of times when I'm meditating and speaking to class, I don't remember what I say. It's just like it's a direct like link. I just happen to be the vessel it's being transpired through. You know.
Facts. I love that.
Incredible. Amazing. Well, Nick, do you have anything else for Randall here before we hop off?
For me, I touched on everything that I wanted to touch on really, but Randall, thank you for joining us, man. Like this has been an absolute pleasure to like bring you into this other world of mine, even though it's a podcast, you know what I mean? But this is like my best friends, you know, from home, and now you're one of my great friends here in Key West, and it's just amazing to bring worlds together.
Yeah, it was an honor to meet you,
Yeah.
brother, and I'm super grateful. We had the opportunity to just have this conversation on here. This went so well. I'm very excited about putting this out and having people hear it. After we do cut the recording, though, I would like you to stay on here just for further information and stuff. But Randall, give it up. Give it up, Randall. You did a great job.
Yeah, Randall.
That was awesome.
Man. I appreciate the time. Like, it's been an amazing journey getting to know Nicholas, and like, it's a beautiful soul. And like, I think beauty recognizes beauty.
Yeah.
Not only like physically, like I feel like we're all like, you see something beautiful, you're like, whoa. But then when you recognize the inner beauty of it, like he sees that in both of you, and just to like be incorporated or brought into the circle to share is very grateful for that. So.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Everyone out there watching, like, comment, subscribe, share this to all your beautiful, wonderful friends out there, and spread the word, because this is honestly one of my favorite interviews we've done so far. And I think it needs to be seen by everyone. So this was the MMMORE podcast. My name's Ryan.
I'm Nicholas.
Joe Money.
And we have Randall. Thank you so much for being here, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace out.